The Jaguars are future focused. This is Jaguars Postgame, presented by Florida Home AC. JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey, and pride of the Jaguars, Fred Taylor, bring you highlights and analysis from today's game. Jaguars Postgame, presented by Florida Home AC, is brought to you by Farah and Farah, Baptist Health, and by TIAA Bank. Now, to get things started, here's JP Shadrick.
And welcome in. It's Jaguars Postgame presented by Florida Home AC. Call Florida Home AC today, official air conditioning partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Final score in Week 7, the Giants hang on by a half yard. Final score, Giants 23, Jaguars 17. The Giants have now won 4 straight to improve to 6-1 on the season. The Jaguars are 2-5. They've now lost 4 in a row. And, boy, what a tough one today, obviously, guys. Fred Taylor, Mike Dempsey, I'm JP Shadrick. Glad you're along with us. Well, the Jags fall short, obviously. They had the lead 17-13. Then early in the fourth quarter, the Jags were moving the ball. It was 4th and 1, deep in Giants territory, about 11:30 to play in the game. Doug Peterson decides to go for it. They're stuffed and stopped short. The Giants go down the field and get a 1-yard touchdown from Daniel Jones after a 10-play drive. And they scored that touchdown with 5:31 to play to take the lead, 20-17. They later added a field goal. Jaguars had the ball with 1:04 left, went down the field 10 plays, had the help of a couple of defensive penalties. The final play of the game, it's a pass complete to Christian Kirk, and he stopped at the 1-yard line. Giants win it. Fred, that's about as tough as it comes today.
Yeah, it does, JP. It would have been a great probably one of the best endings in Jaguars history had the clock not run out, or even if he was a yard closer. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Yeah, I don't know. Just another game for me, just a bit all over the place, man. Turnovers here and there, red zone, obviously, some overthrows, 4th down, aggressive calls on 4th down. Aggressive calls early in the game on the 2-point conversion right there after a penalty. I don't know. We thought the defense can go in there and stop Saquon and make it a one-dimensional game. They weren't able to do that. They did it for a while, but in the fourth quarter when it really counted, they couldn't stop them. And the same thing with the quarterback, Daniel Jones. We knew he was going to run a little bit, and they didn't stop him either. So deservingly so, they lost the game as they should have today.
Yeah, Saquon had 70 yards rushing until that final drive where – ultimately, the Giants went down and got a field goal. He got 40 yards on his first 3 carries on that drive combined, and obviously, flipped the field at that point in time. And the Jags did a nice job bottling him up, Fred. It's almost like they came out, the Giants, in the first half and said, "Hey, look, this is what worked for the Colts last week. Let's just go quick, short passes, get it out of Daniel Jones' hands, build a rhythm." They scored on that opening drive, and then they kind of were a little bit more balanced after that. And I thought Jacksonville did very well with Barkley up until when it mattered the most. And that's
right.
The thing. It's going to come down to a handful of plays and getting them off the field. And if Barkley's feet don't slip out from under him and he goes out of bounds, this game had no drama to it whatsoever down the stretch. I thought the other two, we were talking right before we came on, the decision not to kick the field goal on 4th down at the 20-yard line, right? And you got a chance to make this a 7-point ball game. And the Travis Etienne fumble inside the 5, you can't have that. The Jags have so many red zone woes. It seems like they come up with a different way to kind of shoot themselves in the foot every week in that area of the field.
Yeah, it's crazy. I just went back because I wanted to see what the numbers were. But on 4th downs, they're 6 for 17 on the season, 35%. In red zone, 14-27. Just at close to 50%. And with those numbers statistically, you would think that, you'd be cautious on making those calls. Now, red zone, you don't have a choice. You want to be able to punch it in the red zone. But I think right there, the 4th downs are always a big question mark for me. Sort of questions what the defense is here for. Man, it's really crazy, man. But that 14-point swing, the Giants kicked a field goal. Travis fumbled, and then they kicked another field goal. So that was a 14-point swing that actually put Jacksonville in the hole. I don't know, Mike, man. Just this game for me, like I said, is just all over the place. But the result is what it should have been, which is a loss.
Now, the other side of that, with that 4th and 1 play at the 20 going in, it would have made it a field goal game or a touchdown game. With that. It was up by 4 at that point, would have made it a 7-point game. But there was 11:30 to go in the game. There, in theory, is a lot of football left, Fred.
Enough football still enough football to allow your team to go kick it off, your defense to get out there and get another stop, and give your offense another opportunity to go out there and maybe even increase the score, and make it a 2-point game. So we can look at it both ways, right? So, and what I'm used to and what I've seen, why go for it there? With 11 minutes together, you're still giving the Giants still have plenty enough time to go out there and score and still be in the game, even if you go for it and execute on 4th down there. I just thought for me, and I'm not the coach, it's way above my pay grade, as we mentioned before, I don't go for it right there. I kick the field goal, and I put it on my defense's shoulder, and we see what happens from that point to the end of the game.
That ensuing drive, by the way, the Jaguars had a defensive penalty. They had 12 men on the field at about the 1-yard line. They had 10 men, had to call a timeout at one point on that drive. Jones goes for 24 on the ground. Barkley goes for 18. There's a pass interference in the end zone. A lot of things that happened, but either way, it took nearly 6 minutes off the clock for them to get down the field, and they had the lead with 5:31 left in the game at that point.
Right, and it just highlights, JP, 13 penalties overall. I mean, for 81 yards, way too many. It's kind of going back to week 1 a little bit.
Let's take our first time out. Plenty ahead. We're awaiting head coach Doug Peterson. He'll visit with the media and then with Bucky Brooks here on Jaguars Postgame. Final score, Giants 23, Jaguars 17, and this is Jaguars Postgame on Jaguars Radio. Welcome back. It's Jaguars Postgame presented by Florida Home AC. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey and Fred Taylor after a Jaguars loss to the Giants, 23-17 the final. The Giants now 6-1. They've won 4 straight. The Jaguars now 2-5. They've lost 4 in a row, and the Jags had the ball with 1:04 to play, down by 6. They get down the field. It took them on the 10th play to get a completion down to the 1, but time ran out. No timeouts remaining. And the clock runs out, and the Giants get another victory, and they are rolling along, winning a lot of close games. I think that's every win they've had has been within 1 score, Fred. They are somehow figuring out a way in New York. Meanwhile, in Jacksonville, it's not going that way. They're not faring at all very well in these 1-score games. They've all gone the wrong way for this team.
Yeah, I'm with you, JP. I remember back in the day, I don't know if you remember when they called Jaguars the cardiac cats. They found a way to win the game, and it's the NFL, man. That's really what it's about, and it's not pretty, But that's a group of guys on the other side. I wish I would be saying that about us right now, but a group of guys on the other side, they're calm and they have heart and they have some grit about themselves, and they're just churning it out. But we have to be better prepared situationally. As we mentioned in the pregame, being able to be prepared situationally, being able to play faster so you can make those plays. It will translate to making those plays that you're supposed to make. And I also think that Trevor, with his accuracy, a few overthrows that I counted throughout the game, he has to be better, too, at that position.
Yeah, you're right about that, Fred. He threw for 310 on the day, but just about 50% completion percentage, right? Now, I know a lot of it came on that last drive,
right.
Had some incompletes and things like that, and kind of forced into it. But there's a game where you put up over 400 yards of offense. Once again, outgain your opponent 452, and you only put up 17 points. I think that has been the biggest story of the year, is that they've moved the ball and they haven't gotten the points to show for it. It's just red zone failures, whether it's settling for field goals, whether it's turning it over on downs, or like today, just turning it over, just flat turning it over.
Right, yeah. The red zone has been the big Achilles heel for this offense. They've moved it all year. Started week 1 in Washington. They couldn't cap it off early in that game in the red zone, and that has continued as a trend throughout. Fred, how do you get better at that?
Obviously you have to continue to watch tape, continue to practice hard, and hopefully, that that sort of play develop in the process.
Can you think too much about it? You just got to go play at some point?
I think, you want to study, but you also have to just go play. Yeah. Go play, and hopefully it'll translate that way. And I'm just scrolling down this playlist as, and I have a question for you guys, because I don't know. I was bombarded by a few fans upstairs.
That's what happens.
So I sort of missed it. But, at the beginning of the fourth quarter here, at 14:30, Jacksonville calls a timeout after an incomplete ball. You think that timeout comes back to hunt us right there?
Oh, yeah.
At the very end?
Yeah. Sure. I mean, it would be nice to have it at the end, but
my question is, why did we call a timeout? I don't remember that play.
Was it too many men or not enough men on the field? They had a couple of those.
Maybe it was not enough, yeah?
It was after an incomplete pass on a first down play, and then it set up 2nd and 10 at the Giants' 41.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just went back and I saw it was a timeout call in between an incomplete pass. And I'm like, why was that called? But again,
which, by the way, there's no excuse for not having the right amount of men on the field.
Still, right, that part
where it costs you a timeout.
That's all in communication, and that's a big part of the game.
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence basically had to throw it on every play on the final drive, right? So there were 10 plays. Kirk had the one. Lawrence got sacked once, so maybe 8 attempts for Trevor Lawrence on that final drive out of 10 plays. So before that, 35 passes, and here's Travis Etienne averaging 8.1 yards a carry, and there's 15 runs for the running backs today, Fred. I mean, this, I guess, something we're just going to talk about every week, and something I think Jag fans just have to live with. I think this is the way they want to run their offense. At least the coaching staff does.
Right. I was just thinking to myself, we can go back and, nitpick certain situations, but obviously if you look at what the statistics, the stats are here, you would think, it would call for more runs. You want to take some pressure off the quarterback in certain situations. They ran the ball well. They ran the ball extremely well, man. But I don't know. Maybe the coaches go back in there and look at how can they become more balanced, in these type situations.
Yeah, I'd love to hear, too, just the balance or the lack thereof now between Travis Etienne and James Robinson. Did he get nicked up and we were not aware of it? I mean, some of those, those short yardage run type situations, you would think, look, you've got these two distinctly different types of backs. Mm-hmm. Why not utilize them? And up until this point this year, they've utilized them in every game. Just a little bit mystifying, but maybe we'll find out more with Doug Peterson's post-game comments.
The official totals today for Robinson, no carries in the game at all.
Right, had one
target, and didn't catch it.
Right, no official touch in the game.
That's right.
So. Yeah, that's a tremendous drop-off because the way we've seen it was Robinson would start and play, and then to come out of the second half, it would be Travis. And I understand from the coaches trying to create a certain balance between the two guys, but here when I looked up and I didn't see any Robinson runs in the stat column, it just posed the question, what happened?
Yep.
Because I saw him warming up. I was on the field, so I saw him warming up. He looked pretty good. I don't know. And you guys mentioned earlier he wasn't on the injury report.
At all, yeah.
No,
that's mind-boggling, too. But, again, the hot hand is Travis Etienne. He's been, lights out these past couple weeks. His career longs each and every week. It seems like he's breaking that mark each and every week. So maybe they're trying to find one designated guy and say we're going to go with the hot hand. But again, Mike, I agree with you. In terms of short yardage situations, you got a big, strong guy in James Robinson. Yeah. Maybe get creative in that sense and call those plays for him.
JP Shadrick, Fred Taylor, Mike Dempsey. We're awaiting the post-game comments of head coach Doug Peterson. He will address the media first and then go down the hallway and catch up with Bucky Brooks. We'll get his thoughts on what happened today. A Jaguars lost 23-17, the final score. Now, the other side, the other part of this running game today, as you mentioned, Mike, Saquon Barkley was quiet a lot of the day. He finished, though, like a freight train, as these Giants do. 24 carries, 110 yards for the day for Barkley. And then something we mentioned in pregame, Doug Peterson talked about it all week, but the running ability of Daniel Jones. 11 times he carried the ball, 107 yards, and he had the sneak touchdown. In big moments, hey, you're sending the house to him, and he slips through, and he's got nothing but green grass, Fred.
Yeah, credit to their offensive play callers on the other side, because some of those were design runs that they capitalize on.
Like the bootleg at the end.
Yeah, man. Amazing play right there. But and that's what happens when, they went back to old school football. In the 4-minute drill, I think it was around 4:29 left on the clock, they ran power right, and we couldn't stop them. And then a play or two later, you have an opportunity to call that naked boot to the quarterback, and he's capable of getting it done. But they knew, he was mobile, and he was going to be able to run through it before the game even started. And again, shout out to their OC, man. They called the plays and they executed, and they gave themselves an opportunity to win.
You just hate to see it, though. That 4-minute drive you're talking about, I mean, you stop them. You've got all the time in the world to go down, and it's still a 3-point ball game. But Barkley for 13 on the first play, so it's first down again. He goes for 7, then he goes for 20 on the very next carry. And that's almost a little bit of a backbreaker right there. You flip the field 40 yards worth of real estate, and you realize that you're dealing with a different Saquon Barkley at this stage.
Man, he looks amazing out there. But that run by Daniel Jones was a 15-yarder just before the 2-minute mark. And if Saquon doesn't slide out of bounds right there, his foot barely got out, then, we're not necessarily having the conversation about the very end of the game, because they would have executed their 4-minute drill perfectly, because our guys were tired and pretty much on their heels at that point in the game.
All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back. We're still waiting the comments of head coach Doug Peterson. He has yet to address the media. He'll do that first. He'll join us with Bucky Brooks coming up. We'll hear some highlights in just a moment. 23-17 Giants over the Jaguars. It's Jaguars postgame on the Jaguars Radio Network. Jaguars postgame presented by Florida Home AC. Call Florida Home AC today, official air conditioning partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Final score, Giants 23, Jaguars 17. Head coach Doug Peterson coming up shortly. Has not addressed the media yet. He'll do that first, and then he'll join Bucky Brooks down the hall. We'll get to that coming up. Let's get to the highlights first of all, and we'll start off with Frank Frangie on the call. The Giants with the opening possession. They had 7 straight called passes to start the game. One of those was a Jones 14-yard scramble. They ended up in the end zone to get it started.
Another blitz, dropping to throw is Jones, fires it deep along the right sideline. Got a man out there, and that ball is going to be caught for the touchdown. A touchdown in the corner of the end zone. Darius Slayton made the catch. He beat Trey Herndon along the right sideline, and the Giants strike first at TIAA Bank Field.
32-yard touchdown, extra point good, 7-0. Jaguars come out on offense, and they move down the field, and it's the second-year running back, his first year on the field, his first time in pay dirt.
Inside handoff to Travis Etienne, into the end zone, touchdown! Travis Etienne, a 7-yard touchdown run for the Jaguars.
His first career score, the extra point was good, but there was a penalty on the Giants. Doug Peterson took the point off the board. They moved the ball to the 1 and then handed it off to Etienne for the 2-point conversion. 8-7, the Jaguars led at that point. Next possession for the Jags, they get a field goal to extend the lead. Riley Patterson, 27 yards, but they failed in the red zone. 11-7, the Jags led at that point. The Giants get a field goal. Graham Gano, 33 yards, 11-10. The Jaguars had the lead. And then the next Jaguars possession, they're driving again. They're in the red zone, and Travis Etienne.
As they'll keep him on the bench.
Yeah, there you have it. Head coach Doug Peterson's remarks with the media are done. He's headed down the hall as we speak, and Bucky Brooks is standing by to have a conversation with the Jaguars head coach. We'll hear from Doug on some of those situations today, hopefully, and a team that now dropped 4 consecutive games after a 2-1 start. They are now 2-5 for the season. It's off to London next week, but still some business to attend to coming out of this game today before they hop on the plane over the Atlantic to play at Wembley next week against the Denver Broncos. Jaguars had the ball in their hand with a 1:04 to play, no timeouts, got down the field, fell a yard short in this game. The Giants hang on to another one-score game and get a win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. And let's head into the locker room for the Locker Room Report, presented by Baptist Health and the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute, the official sports medicine provider of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Bucky Brooks has Doug Peterson.
What up, Coach? Thoughts on another tough loss?
Yeah, we're learning things the hard way. And this, Bucky, too. It comes down to 2, 3, 4 plays a game, and whether it's hanging onto the ball as we score, an unwanted, roughing the passer penalty after we're getting a turnover right there, stopped on 4th down, really stopped on 3rd down, and it's just those things that are keeping us from probably feeling a little bit better, right, internally. And pulling these games out. Now, credit our team for battling and really, it came right down to the last play of the game, to possibly win it. And it's a credit to our guys. There's no quit. There's no, give up in this crew. And that's what I love about these guys and respect them so much because they work hard during the week. Again, like I said, we're just learning things the hard way. And I do believe that we'll be better, and these guys will learn.
You're such a positive coach, and so you're in the middle of a 4-game losing streak or whatever. How do you approach it with your team to continue to be positive while impressing upon them the lessons?
I think for me, it has to be that way. I can harp on the negative all day, and the guys know. When you make a bad play or you don't win a game, you know what it is. And yeah, we're going to make the corrections. We're going to point that stuff out, but we have to point out the positive too. We got to point out the good, and I'm a big believer in that, and supporting these guys and still helping these guys and encouraging these guys because they're hurting just like I am, but again, no one's going to feel sorry for us. Don't expect anybody to. We've kind of, as they say, we've made our bed and now we're lying down in it. So we just got to keep working, keep battling, stay together, stay strong. And work through it.
So you got a different kind of week because you got to go overseas to go to London. So how does that change your approach at all? Like getting your team ready, like putting this to bed, but then getting ready to go overseas. And
the first part of the week is we're going to keep it normal. We'll come in tomorrow and put this film to rest and fix the mistakes and all that, and then we're on to the Broncos, and game planning for them for 2 days. And Wednesday, Thursday are going to be normal days for us here, and then we're going to get on a plane and go over there Thursday night, and then we get there Friday. We just roll. We just get up and go, and try to keep everything as normal as possible, and get ready to play on Sunday.
Well, shoot, man. Best of luck next week. We'll see if we can get that win. Get off the snot.
We got to do it. Just got to correct a few things, fix a few things, and we'll be right there.
All right.
Appreciate
Thanks, Coach.
That's head coach Doug Peterson with Bucky Brooks. We're back with plenty more ahead. Jaguars fall 23-17 to the Giants, and this is Jaguars postgame on the Jaguars Radio Network. Welcome back. It's Jaguars postgame presented by Florida Home AC. JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey, Fred Taylor. Our thanks to Dick's Wings for all the postgame food tonight in the broadcast office. We've gone through it all, I think, after a lengthy football game today. Unfortunately, it goes the wrong way. Final score 23-17, Giants over the Jaguars, and we just heard from head coach Doug Peterson there. Mistakes. They go at it again, and it seems like the same narrative each week. Shooting yourselves in the foot, whatever cliche you want to use, but the same similar type of mistakes keep popping up, Fred, in this Jaguars team. Red zone issues, a fumble at the 5, penalties in key situations to negate plays that would have gone your way, and another week, and it feels like a lot of the same.
Yeah, a lot of the same. Even starting the games out, I think earlier in the game it was an offsides by Josh Allen. Potential fumble right there at the beginning of the game. Then a holding against Josh. A few other things. A lot of missed tackles in the game. But, again, Coach Peterson, he goes back and he says, we're close. Yeah, you are close. And these mistakes, they're creeping back in. So in terms of consistency, they are consistent at making those little mistakes that are shooting them in the foot. But they have to be able to go back and find a way to just, through effort and playing hard, be able to think through those situations and minimize those mistakes or get rid of them altogether. And I think they have to be better at that.
Yeah, Doug mentioned the personal foul penalty. Look, the last 2 weeks it's been Trayvon Walker. Today, Foye Oluokun. The ball is out. It's gone.
Yeah.
And he lowers his head and hits Daniel Jones basically in the chin while he's standing in the pocket right in front of the ref. You're going to get a flag every time, and the Jags had an interception on the play. I mean, that's a game-changing decision. I just there's nobody coaching him to go in there and lower his head and make contact with the quarterback around the head or neck area. I don't know how you explain that, Fred.
No, I don't either. I mean, especially now when everything, that pertains to the quarterback is magnified.
Right. And this guy,
the roughing the passer calls, all these other things. Yeah.
Oluokun's a vet. He's been around.
Yeah, that's true. They're still in the heat of the moment, but I agree with you 1,000%, Mike. Oluokun, he has to know, in this particular situation, I can't do anything to hurt my team. And not only that, it's a whole lot of the concussion talk and roughing the passer talk. You have to be smart with anything around the quarterback these days because you don't know which ref is going to show up.
Let's come back in a moment. Jaguars Radio Network player of the game voting. Final score 23-17. Giants over the Jaguars. This Jaguars postgame on Jaguars Radio. Jaguars postgame presented by Florida Home AC. Final score Giants 23, Jaguars 17. JP Shadrick with Fred Taylor and Mike Dempsey. It's time now for the Jaguars Radio Network player of the game voting. I get a vote, Mike gets a vote, Fred gets a vote and a half to break any deadlocks. Mike, get us started.
All right. Boy, I'd love to give it to Travis Etienne for his performance today, but that fumble inside the 5, that prevents me from giving my vote there. Some other good guys, I won't mention them all because I don't want to take your thunder, but I'm going to go with Darius Williams, who I think stepped into a larger role with Shaq Griffin out and had 8 tackles on the day, including 5 solos, but the key, 3 pass breakups on a day when the Giants didn't throw the ball all over the lot. They only threw for 202 yards. I'm going to go with Darius Williams as my player of the game nominee.
I guess I'll go next so we can leave it up to Fred. I'm with you on the ETN fumble inside the 5. That one is something, as Doug Peterson, I think, said to the media in the post-game media conference. They work on that every week. They have a circuit one day where they go through and ball control and handling and wrapping the ball up. It just didn't happen inside the 5. But he did have his first career 100-yard game, 114 yards on 14 carries. So he's my vote, Travis Etienne. Fred, break it up.
Oh, man, you put the pressure on me, JP. Everything Mike said about the fumble, I would have went with Oluokun with the 12 solos, but he had the bonehead play there too, so I can't go that way. I really don't know which direction to go. Can I go with the punter? He didn't make any mistakes because he didn't punt today.
Well, can I give you a nominee? How about Christian Kirk?
Yeah.
I see Kirk there. I'm looking at Kirk, 7 for 96. Made
big
some pretty good
when
catches.
He needed them.
He did make some big catches there. But I'm a running back. I don't know, man. He fumbled though. I'm going to go with Christian Kirk. Thanks, Mike. Because I didn't know who to pick, man. I don't know who to pick, so I got to go with Christian Kirk. I guess
he had a couple of those catches on the final drive to get him down and got
true.
A first down, and then of course the final catch just short of the end zone.
Come on, Travis, man. Come on.
What do you think of that play, Fred? Kirk was kind of trailing. I think it was Marvin Jones, and I think the play was designed to get him the ball while he was moving towards the goal line, and obviously he went up and had turned his back, and once they made contact, there was no chance of him fighting for any extra yardage because he's in the air. In a situation like that, do you have to throw the ball into the end zone, or sometimes you put it in your playmaker's hands and hope that his momentum can take him in there?
I think in my sense, I want to give a shot to the playmaker pretty much every chance I get. It's rare you want to just fling it to the back of the end zone, but if the playmaker's in a decent enough position, give him a shot.
Christian Kirk is the Jaguars Radio Network player of the game. 10 targets, 7 catches, 96 yards, but needed 1 more yard. That's all he needed.
Yeah.
And the Jaguars fall today. If you're looking for the MVP of the truck game, then look no further than Ford F-150, loaded with impressive capabilities and designed to dominate work, play, and everything in between. This truck makes tough look easy. Your local Ford dealer, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Baptist Health Injury Report when we return. It's Jaguars postgame on Jaguars Radio. Welcome back. It's Jaguars postgame presented by Florida Home AC. 23-17 the final. Giants are now 6-1. The Jaguars fall to 2-5 with a 4-game losing skid. The Giants have won 4 in a row, and it's time for the Baptist Health Injury Report. Baptist Health, changing healthcare for good. Well, Cam Robinson with a right shoulder issue in the second quarter, but came back in the game before halftime. Brandon Sheriff early in the fourth quarter, and notably on that 4th-and-1 situation with about 11:30 to go, was not on the field, but he was later back in the game as well. A couple of those issues today for the Jaguars. There were speculation, questions, I guess, after the game from the media to Doug Peterson about James Robinson. And Peterson apparently said they've got to make sure that James is 100%. He's still a big part of the plans, according to Rick Ballou of 1010XL. So, all right, what does that mean? Remember, they had the Achilles injury, Fred. Those aren't easy to come back from. We knew that coming into the season. We saw in training camp there was still a little bit of a gait in his running, and then that got better as camp went along. He started the season fine. I'm curious now. He didn't get any touches in this game today. We'll find out, I guess, moving ahead.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen during the week of practice, JP. We're not sure. He only had 13 touches a week ago in total versus the Colts. Seems that he came away from that game pretty healthy. And, again, I know that, having two backs in the backfield can be a tough decision for a position coach and a head coach. Which guy's going to, get the plays, the bulk of the carries, this and that. Which guy holds the hot hand, as we mentioned earlier. I don't want to create anything that isn't there in terms of why this guy is playing more than this guy. But it seems to me, in my opinion, that Travis has the hot hand because he's the more dynamic of the two. He has the longer run. He has that big playability. They're trying to get there. They're trying to get some points on the board. So maybe they're giving him more opportunities. But yet it's still mind-boggling as to why 0 carries for James after today's loss. That's the part I don't understand.
I think Doug Peterson doesn't bring that up about James Robinson's health unless there's maybe some concern, right? That maybe it's like, hey, we're 6 games in. Maybe we need to back off a little bit. I mean, he had a few touches today, but it didn't seem like he played in the second half that I can recall out there today. Jermichael Hasty actually had 1 carry. Yeah. Robinson didn't have any. He had 1. He got wiped out because the penalty, had 1 target in the passing game as well. So the fact that Doug Peterson mentioned need to make sure that he's 100%, I think might be telling.
Jamal Agnew missed the game. There's maybe we'll see what happens on the trip, but going to London, long way over to come off that knee issue. We'll see how significant that is. Shaq Griffin with the back injury was not available for this game today as well. That's something to watch in the week ahead also. Back in a moment, we'll preview next week's game and wrap it up. Final score 23-17, Giants over the Jags. It's Jaguars postgame on the Jaguars Radio Network.
Jaguars fans, here's a great way to pay with